TWM podcast.
Okay, D'Lo, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So let's get straight into it. You rejoined Impact earlier this year. Why the decision to rejoin the company after so many years away from it?
It was a culmination of watching this young, talented roster and wanting to be a part of it, and then also seeing where the trend of the business was going in terms of wrestling jumping back into the mainstream of fans around the world, and just wanting to be part of that and going for the ride. So, this young talented roster is what drew me back to Impact Wrestling.
You talk about the roster. What makes it so special? Because it's doing things that other bigger companies aren't doing. So what makes them want to push the boundaries so much?
It's fine. It's being the company's trying to be a trailblazer and find our own little niche and our own little path, and that's what it makes us stand out. To me, is we're not trying to follow in anyone else's footsteps. Impact's trying to be its own entity, its own thing, and create maybe a path for others to follow. Just to be out in front of the trend is where we are, and that's enjoyable to be a part of.
I mean, not just roster-wise, but when you look at the company overall, what's the biggest difference between now and the last time you were there?
Everything from management to the way things are handled to, that's on the office side. On the talent side, it's, making the entire roster relevant, where it's not just focused on 2 or 3 people, but, we're throwing, 20 or 30 talent out there, and everyone is enjoying what they're seeing, no matter who's in the ring. So from office to talent and back and forth, it's a totally different company night and day compared to what it was in the previous incarnation.
Does that make your job easier working with, happy talent, happy staff, just a better environment?
Oh, hell yeah. It makes everything easy because and we can go on any line of work. If you're not happy where you are, people don't give their best effort. But if you're happy, you're enjoying where you are, and you're loving what you're doing, people will go above and beyond. And that's what we have in our roster right now. You have talent going above and beyond what the required is, what the bare minimum is. They're exceeding that because they want to be out there. They want to be part of this. They want to see the company grow. And that's what the feeling and the vibe is in the Impact locker room today. We all want to be part of this emerging force in pro wrestling.
And your role, sort of talk me through a typical day for D'Lo Brown working for Impact Wrestling.
Typical days, I'll get to the building around noon. I'll go to a production meeting, and that's where I'll go over with creative the show, how the show wants, the creative wants the show laid out and how they want it portrayed. Then, with a brief stop in catering, I will then go meet talent, and I will sit down with whoever's match I'm assigned with, and I'll start talking over with them and giving them the ideas. And now that we're the match captains, and we start going back and forth, and their ideas, my idea, their idea, my idea, we kind of blend those together. So then, 4 hours later, when the lights go live and we're out there, we're in front of the people, and I'm in the production truck, now I'm getting to watch this match play out in front of the people. Afterwards, we will talk about the matches and how well the talent did and how the people reacted and so forth, and then go to the hotel and do it all over again the next day.
What's your favorite part about your new role? Because I mean, you're only 47. You're not exactly retired yet. So what's sort of your favorite part? And would you like to still be doing in-ring stuff?
No. My time in the sun is gone, and I happily admit that. My favorite part now is living vicariously through the talent I get to work with and watching them go out there and achieve their dreams. I consider myself very lucky. I lived my dream, and I got to, do it at a very high level. And now my passion is now watching these young talented workers achieve their dream, and I get to live through them, and that's what makes me happy now.
So who are some of your favourite talent to work with in this role?
If I name one, I'd besmirch someone else. I mean, the entire roster, from Tessa Blanchard to Brian Cage to Eddie Edwards to, Willie Mack to Rich Swann to the Rascals. I mean, you name it. Rosemary, Madison Rain. Just down the entire roster, I consider myself very lucky to have such a really, really good locker room. And there's not a bad one in the bunch. And they all make me look better and smarter than people think I am. So it's amazing to be part of it.
So if you took sort of D'Lo Brown in his prime, who would be your top 3 from the current Impact roster that you'd like to work with?
Oh, if I could wrestle in my prime, I would like to wrestle, let's say, I couldn't do top 3. In no particular order, I would love a match with Michael Elgin. I would love a match with Brian Cage. And I'd love a match with Tessa Blanchard.
Wow. Okay. And when you look back at your whole career, just stepping away from your role now, when you look back on your whole career, how do you sum it up into a couple of sentences? Are you happy with how your career panned out?
I am totally happy with my career panned out, and the fact that it's been almost 15 years since I've been on worldwide television. I had a little run there in Impact, but the fact that people still walk up to me in the supermarket and know who I am, and I'm still relevant, and they're still shaking their head at me, or they'll do the strut, or tell me, when they were in high school, they got in trouble for walking down the high school hallways, shrugging their shoulders and doing my walk. I think I did okay for myself. Was I world champion or was I the biggest draw in the world? No. But as long as people remember who I am, I did okay.
I have to ask, where did that head shake come from?
There's a movie here in the States called Friday. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's an old movie with Ice Cube, Chris Tucker. It's called Friday. If you Google it, Google the movie Friday, and Google the point where Debo knocks out a dude for his bicycle. And Chris Tucker looks at him and goes, "You just got knocked the F out," and he's shaking his head over top of him. And that's where I stole it from.
So, I mean, what was the reaction from people around you when you started doing that in the ring?
It was kind of like, what are you doing? And my goal was, I always wanted to be different. I mean, we all go out there and index and baby oil and try to jump around, do the wrestling moves, but what separates you? So in the Attitude Era, we're all trying to find something that would separate us on TV and make us individual and unique, but be part of the same team. So when I started doing the head shake, it was kind of like, what are you doing? And then it went from what are you doing to don't stop doing it, because people now are doing it back to you. So just trying to find your niche, to find yourself to be creative and stand out and be special.
So do you find a lot of the Impact roster sort of talk about how they watched you growing up, and do they ask you for advice and I guess of stories of times gone by of when you were wrestling for WWE?
We have talks all the time, and a lot of that, I watched when I was growing up happen in like the first 2 or 3 weeks I was there, and now it's just, I want your advice because you've been in front of, 65,000, you've been at WrestleMania, you've done this, you've been on worldwide TV. Help me, like a coach would help a player, help me achieve that same thing or put me on the same path. So yeah, talent pick my brain all the time, and I'm all too eager to help. I want to give them any piece of information I have to help them get to that next level. So that goes on all the time in the locker room.
This podcast, and indeed all TWM podcasts, are brought to you by SquaredCircleBox.com, the only place for your monthly wrestling box needs. With things from superstars from WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, British Wrestling, Independent Wrestling, and loads more, it is the only place that matters if you want to get the best wrestling swag for a low, low price. That low, low price is just £25, people. What a bargain! And you can get snapbacks, t-shirts, magazines, DVDs, trinkets, whatchamacallit, doodads, you name it, they have it each and every month. And just because you listen to TWM, you sexy, sexy people, you get 10% off your first order. All you got to do is use the code TWM News in the checkout. Just use the code TWM News in the checkout for 10% off your first order at squaredcirclebox.com.
Why not spread? I said, why not spread the gospel of the TWM squad with some of our lovely merch over at Teespring? We have t-shirts for all shapes and sizes, hoodies, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and loads more. Also, just for listening to this podcast, you can get 10% off your order. I said use it. I said use it. I said using the code podcast. That's podcast. Once again, podcast in the checkout for 10% off at teespring.com/stores/TWM-wrestling-merch. That's right. Praise. Testify.
So, looking at the roster and looking at the way Impact is at the moment, where do you see it going in the next year, 2 years?
I see that, we've changed networks, and now we're on a larger platform here in the United States, and I see us just carving a bigger footprint out in the landscape of wrestling. Our numbers grow every day, and we have such a strong fan base, in the UK and in Europe, that our global influence is growing along here in America with our domestic influence. I just see Impact just growing exponentially by the week and by the show.
Do you see companies like AEW and WWE as competition to push you, or do you just you're just trying to carve your own niche and make Impact the best it can be, regardless of what everyone else is doing?
Yeah, we don't follow the trend. We're trying to carve our own little space in wrestling, and we don't have to follow anybody. We're not like anybody else, and we don't pretend to be anybody else. Impact is its own individual thing, finding our own little spot in pro wrestling. And yeah, the best way to put it is we're carving our own little niche out, and we just want to be the best that we can be. Everyone else, love them, have fun, go do you. We're going to live our best life here at Impact and become the best that we can be.
So, someone that has pretty much grown more than anyone in Impact over the past year is Tessa Blanchard. What's she like to work with, and where do you see her career, in 5 years from now?
I'll answer the second question first. In 5 years, she'll be a mega star. She's already a superstar. She's got the potential to be something extraordinary and generational in this business. There are a few people who have the cachet, have the swagger, have the work in the ring. She's one of them. To work with, one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever been around, and doesn't understand how good she really is right now. But that's a good thing.
Are the rest of the roster supportive of the way it's been going with her, in the storyline for the world title? Because it's probably the first company to do it with a female.
The rest of the roster sits and cheers along with everybody else. Completely supportive. Go out there and do the best you can do. If you're the one drawing the ratings, and let's all jump on your back and ride with you. We have a very, very inclusive and supportive locker room. Who it doesn't matter who's the focal point. We're all the focal point because we're all propping each other up. So the locker room is just as excited as the fans are to see what's going to happen in Hard to Kill.
And of course, she's been in the ring with Sami Callihan, and that's how it's propelled her to the top. How much credit would you give to him for what's going on at Impact at the moment?
Look, there's a yin to every gang, and there's a dance partner for everybody. And Tessa is where she is because she's had the foil of Sami Callihan for the better part of 9 months to a year. They are tied at the hip, and both of their popularities have risen because of their interactions with each other. And you can't have one without the other. And it's been a joy to watch Sami grow over the last 9 months or so. just as much as it's been to watch Tessa grow. And once again, I'm going to. I hope I'm involved with their match at Hard to Kill, because I just want to be part of that, because I think there's something special going to happen.
And sort of away from those two, who else in the Impact roster should the rest of the world start to take notice of in the next year?
Well, if you're sleeping on a guy like Eddie Edwards, or a guy like Moose, or Brian Cage, or even veterans like Ken Shamrock, there's so many guys on our roster and so many girls on our roster. But if you just watch our product and watch what we do on a weekly basis, the world will take notice of what we do. All it takes is just to watch our show, and that's, to me, that's it. The show sells itself. The talent sells itself. We have, in my opinion, one of the best rosters in the world, top to bottom. And I will put our roster up against anybody's, and go out there and put on a better show than us.
Okay. So, away from Impact and away from the ring, what does D'Lo Brown do, in your spare time?
Well, in about 45 minutes, I'm about to watch Liverpool play Napoli in the Champions League.
You and me both.
So I'm a big footy guy. You're a Liverpool guy?
Yes, I am.
Walk alone, my friend. You'll never walk alone.
Where did your love of Liverpool come from?
I'm just spending time in England, and going to see a match at Anfield, sitting in the Kop. One of my first experiences, and literally, it blew my mind. How passionate, how ravenous a fan base can be, and to hear 80,000 people singing a song in unison, and just feeling that changed my whole life. And I vowed that day I left, and I wanted to know everything about Liverpool, up and down. I wanted to know where they've been, where they came from, how long they've been around, what have they won, what have they lost, who are the great players. And ever since then, I've been a student of the game, and I adore the Reds. I have fans from England who tell me I know more about footy than some of their friends do, and I'm 6,000 miles away. If I can't see them on our TV, I pay to watch them. When they're playing in the Premier League, I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, my local time, to watch Liverpool play. So I'm passionate about the Reds, just like I am about my Chicago Bears. When I fall in love with a team, I fall in love for life. So I've been a Bears fan since I was 9. I've been a Liverpool fan since I want to say 2011, 2012, and I've not missed a match since then.
Wow.
Like, literally not missed a match.
So who would your top 3 Liverpool players be?
You got to go with the captain, Gerrard. You got to go with, you know what, I fucking hate his ass, but Luis Suarez, and right now Mo Salah's my guy. Cool.
Good choices. How
about you?
Just jumping in there, Adam. One more, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Actually, do you know what?
Hold on. Aside from the Liverpool question,
I just said that to Danny. I was like, I'll never shut him up now. So do I leave him going, or do I just highlight the last question?
No, to be honest, that was my last question, so it's a good question to end on.
So he's upset now. You're the last interview of a 2-hour block, and now he's upset because I cut off the football question.
No, hold on, D'Lo.
No, because I got Liverpool in 45 minutes.
I know. So my top 3. Hold on, my top 3: D'Lo, Steven Gerrard, Xabi Alonso, and Luis Garcia.
Good top 3. Good top 3, mate.
Thank you. It's been great.
I like that we both have the captain in there.
Yes. Yeah. It's been great speaking to you.
Should I just dial off? I can leave you two having a conversation if you want.
Well, no, I gotta go get the pint ready, because Anfield's rocking her in about the half hour.
D'Lo, when you're next in the UK, let me know. We'll go to a game.
Mate, I would enjoy that immensely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time.
You're not going to football without Danny, you know that, right?
Okay.
Oh no, Danny's going with us. Arsenal can go kiss my arse. Arse.
Big thank you to D'Lo Brown for sitting down with Adam and talking all things Impact and Liverpool Football Club, which I don't think anyone saw coming. Dilo, come watch some proper football. Come down to the Championship. Take you to a Fulham game. See some real football. Anyway, big thank you to Impact for hooking us up. And if you don't already know, there are so many ways that you can get involved and watch Impact Wrestling. It's available in the UK and Ireland from 2 a.m. on a Wednesday morning on the Impact Plus app. It also airs on the Fight Network UK on 9 p.m. Wednesdays and again at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. That's on Sky Channel 192 and on Freesat at 161, and then you can check it out on 5 Star in the UK at 11 p.m. on Friday. Thank you for listening. Please leave us a rating and review, and we'll talk to you again soon.